Hello everybody, and this side Vanshika, and you are watching my channel Knowledge World. So today's video is based for class 8 SST and on the political science, that means civics. This video is based on the civics chapter, that is the criminal justice system. So in this chapter we will study about the criminal justice system of India, and I am going to explain this chapter with the help of a PPT which is prepared by Loknayak Jayaprakash Narayan National Institute of Criminology and Forensic Science by the Ministry of Home Affairs. This PPT has been prepared. So it is a very good PPT and you can also get this from Google. So everybody to watch this video till the end to understand each and every concept. So let's begin with. Now just see the definition of the criminal justice system. It is given here in points and it is given very clearly. So the first point is the term criminal justice refers to the agencies of government charged with enforcing law, adjudicating criminals and correcting criminal conduct. So the criminal justice, this term refers to agencies of government. There are agencies of government, so we refer this as criminal justice, or criminal justice is referred as the agencies of government. And what do these agencies do? What is their role? That they have to enforce law, they have to maintain law and order, adjudicate criminals and correct the criminal conduct. They have to ensure that firstly, you should know that those people who are the criminals, the criminal justice try to adjudicate them, means to deter them to not commit that crime in the future they have committed now. So that is adjudicating the criminals and correcting their criminal conduct. So this is the work of these agencies. Now let's study the second point. Now let's see the second point. A criminal justice system is a set of legal and social institutions for enforcing the criminal law in accordance with a defined set of procedural rules and limitations. Now this sentence means that the criminal justice system is a combined set of institutions or corporations, and those are legal and social institutions for enforcing the criminal law, to maintain the law and order. Social institutions here refer to the social institutions refers to somehow the religion mainly, for, and these are for enforcing the criminal law in accordance with a defined set of rules. There are some rules also and limitations also under which they enforce the law, in accordance to which they enforce this law. So the next is, a criminal justice system is a set of legal and social institutions for enforcing the criminal law. This we have already studied. This is the repeated point. Then the next point is, the phrase criminal justice system refers to a collection of federal, state and local public agencies that deal with the crime problem. This also we have studied, that it is a collection of agencies also, and here it is given that it is a collection of federal, state and local public agencies. So everything is included in this point, agencies that deal with the crime problem, and all these agencies which refer to the criminal justice system deal with the crime. So let's move to the next point. I hope this is clear. Now comes the objectives of criminal justice system. Now let's see its objectives, that what are the objectives of the criminal justice system. So the first objective is to prevent the occurrence of crime. Obviously the criminal justice system tries that the crime which has been occurred will not occur again. So the next point is to punish the criminals. Obviously it punishes the criminals and try for them, and they try that the criminals do not repeat the criminal act in future, as it is given in the last point also. Then to rehabilitate the criminals, then to compensate the victims as far as possible, then to maintain law and order in the society, which is we have also studied in the previous slide. Then to deter the offenders from committing any criminal act in the future, to prevent them from committing any criminal act from the future. So all of them were given in a very easy language, so I have not explained them in detail, but in the preceding slides all these are explained in a very good manner. So let's proceed. The branches of criminal justice system. Now comes the branches of the criminal justice system. You should note about them. There are three branches of the criminal justice system, and those are: first, legislative branch; second, judicial branch; and the third, the executive branch. Now let's study about the legislative branch. The legislative branch, you should remember all these points in very short so that you can elaborate them and you can write them in detail, or you can speak them in detail. So the first one is the legislative branch, and the first role of it is to define the criminal behavior. It defines the criminal behavior, that if the person has committed this thing, so it is a crime, it is a criminal behavior. It defines the criminal behavior. Then the second point is establishes penalties. So now if the person has committed the crime, so these are the penalties the person has to pay. This thing the person has to do. So it establishes the penalties also. And if you have studied about the legislature, the rule of the legislature is the same, to pass the laws. Then again it is the same, passes laws governing criminal procedure. Whatever the criminal procedure is to be faced by a person who has committed a crime is, firstly, those laws are passed by the legislative branch. Then provide funding for criminal justice agencies. It also provides fund for the criminal justice agencies. Now if in courts they have to appoint judges, so the fund for appointing those judges also is provided by the legislative branch. So these were the important 4 rules of the legislative branch, and you can note them so that you can elaborate them further. Now let's proceed. Now is the judicial branch. So there are 3 important rules of the judicial branch which you should remember. The first one is the guilt of persons charged with crimes. Second, interpret the law. And third, administers the process by which criminal responsibility is determined. So first one is the guilt of persons charged with crimes. It holds a trial for the people. Means you can say that it holds a trial, fair trial for the persons who are accused or who are charged of a crime. Then by this they interpret the law and then they administer the process. They go on the process which determines the criminal responsibility. Now next is the executive branch. As you know, executive power is given to the president, governors and mayors. Mayors are the presidents of the municipal corporations. Executive power is given only to the president, governors and mayors. Then carries out or executes many acts of the government. This executive branch carries out many acts of the government. Then as the role of this executive branch is holds powers of appointment and pardons. This branch has the power to appoint. Appointment is the main power of this branch, and so its main role is appointment. You should remember this. Then the next role is they can lead efforts to improve criminal justice system, and this is only the branch which improves the criminal justice. Then provides leadership for crime control, and this branch also provides leadership for crime control and also support for the crime control. Now let's move to the next. Now comes the major components of the criminal justice system. What are the major components of the criminal justice system? 3 major components are there: police, courts and corrections. Now let's move. Now comes the police. What is the role of the police? It is given here in points. Firstly, enforcing the law. The people who are associated with the criminal justice system, first and foremost role of them is to enforce the law. So you should remember this point. So the first role of the police similarly is to enforce law, investigate crime, apprehend offenders, maintain public order, and protect rights and freedoms of individuals. So, as soon a person comes to the police to report a crime, they file an FIR. If you have read your book lesson, so in that book, in the text, it is clearly given that if a person is giving information about the commission of crime, the police has to immediately file the FIR, and the FIR contains every information about the complainant also, and what happened, what was the description of the events that occurred in the crime, and the address of the complainant, also date and time, everything, each and every detail in the FIR, first information report, it is included. And then the police goes for the investigation. Then they record the statements of witnesses, different kinds of evidences. Then they investigate the crime. Then they are required to form an opinion. When they form an opinion, then if it any of the evidence points towards the guilt of the accused, the person against whom the FIR has been filed, the person is still an accused, he or she is not guilty, and the police can even not decide that the person is guilty or not. That is the role of the judge, if you have read. So then a charge sheet is filed in the court, and then the prosecution proceeds against that accused person. Then apprehend offenders. So we have also read, so the role of the police is to apprehend the offenders, to deter them not to commit that crime in the future, and to maintain public law and order and protect the rights of the individuals from being violated. This is the hierarchy of police. You can take a screenshot if you want, or you can note this down. Now the court comes. Let's read about the court. Place where arguments get settled through a fair trial, as we know. Then court applies the law to the argument at hand. Each and everything happens in accordance to the law in the court. Then court give the punishment to the person if he or she is really guilty. There are mainly three types of court: district court, high court, and supreme court, as you have read in your previous chapter of civics. So the main components of court comes here. These people are the main components of court: judge, public prosecutor, and defense lawyer. About the police we have already studied, and police is not the component of court, though the police is a part of the criminal justice system but not a part of the court. So judge, public prosecutor, and defense lawyer are the only main components of court. Then comes correction, the third major component. The correction has rehabilitate and reform offenders not to commit the crime in future, protect the community, as when a crime is committed, it is committed against the whole society and not against a one person. So to protect the community from such crime, and humane custody, to take the people in custody. This is the hierarchy of prison. You can take a screenshot or note it down. So these are the key players in criminal justice system: police, public prosecutor, defense lawyer, and judge. Now here is the role of the police. Again, I have already explained this. Let me read the points. Investigate the case, arrest the accused, collect the evidence, keep the peace, prevent crime, provide social services. So now here is the role of the public prosecutor, who is the second main component of the criminal justice system. Now here are the points. I will read them one by one and then explain. Lawyers who represent the state and conduct criminal cases against defendants. So these are the lawyers who represent the state in the court of law and conduct the criminal cases. And against the defendants means against the defense lawyer, because the defense lawyer is defending the accused. Now, here comes the second point. The role of the prosecutor begins once the police filed the charge sheet in the court. So, the public prosecutor has nothing to do with the investigation of the police. He or she comes into play when the charge sheet has been filed in the court and the police has already formed an opinion. So, the next is the prosecutor must conduct the prosecution on behalf of the police investigation. So they have to conduct their prosecution on the basis of the police investigation. It is his or her duty to present all the material facts, witnesses and evidences before the court of law, and he or she has to leave it totally upon the court to decide that whether the accused person is guilty or innocent. He or she has the right to a speedy trial. At the end, you can write this. Here is the hierarchy of prosecution. Here comes the third component, defense lawyer. Defense lawyer represents the accused after arrest and gives him or her advice. So, defense lawyer is from the side of the accused person, and the Article 22 of the Constitution and criminal law guarantees that each and every person should be defended by a defense lawyer, and it is an important element of the fair trial also, if you have seen in your textbook. And the Article 39A of the Constitution and the criminal law guarantees that if a person is poor or is suffering from any other disability and he or she is not able to engage a defense lawyer for him or her to present him or her in the court of law, then it is the duty of the state to provide him or her with a defense lawyer. So a defense lawyer is very, very important in the criminal justice system. Then the second point about the defense lawyer is investigate details of the offense on behalf of the accused on the part of the accused. He or she has to do the investigation, then discuss the case with the prosecutor and test the strength of the state's case. Then he or she has to discuss the case with the prosecutor also and represent the accused at bail hearings, as he's giving him advice also and he is representing him also. So it is his duty to represent the accused at the bail hearings and represent the accused at a trial also, as it is a component of a fair trial. It is an important element of a fair trial that an accused person should be defended by a defense lawyer. Then present an appeal. Now comes the judge. The judge is like an umpire in the court, as we all know, as we have all watched in the movies also, and we have read also in our textbook the case of Shanti, a maid servant. Then the judge hears all the witnesses and see the evidence presented by both the parties. He or she has not to jump into conclusions, or he or she does not have to do partiality with any of the party. He has to be impartial. Then the judge decides whether the accused person is guilty or innocent and not the police. So if the accused is convicted, means if all the evidences which are presented are against the accused, or if there is something which points to the guilt of the person, so the judge pronounces the sentence. If the judge also thinks that the person has really committed the crime, so he pronounces the sentence, and he may send the person to jail or impose a fine, or both, in accordance with the law prescription. So I think it is very, very clear that the judge is like an umpire. He listens and sees to all the witnesses and evidences presented, and he decides that whether the accused person is guilty or not and pronounces the sentence if the person is convicted. Also, he can send the person to jail or impose a fine in accordance with the law prescription. Now is the purpose of criminal justice system. That what is the purpose of the criminal justice system? First is doing justice with all the people, to uphold the right to justice, then controlling crime in the society and preventing crime. Now, these are the steps in the criminal justice process. First is the investigation, arrest, then prosecution, filing of an information by a prosecutor, arraignment by a judge, pre-trial detention or bail, plea bargaining, trial or adjudication of guilt, sentencing by a judge, appeals, punishment or rehabilitation. So, this was all for today. This was the criminal justice system. I hope that this made the concepts of the criminal justice system very clear to you. Thank you for the watching the video. Keep watching Knowledge World and keep exploring. Stay tuned with me so that you will get more and more such videos to watch and gather more and more knowledge. Thank you very much.